Alright, I'm going to show you some trading tricks we used to find some trades today in the chat room, but I'm talking a little bit about the market first. About 2 months ago, I made a video why I think the market is near a top. And I stand by that, even though it's been 2 months and we haven't exactly tanked. Being in the market or watching, trading, everything all day, every day, you start to get a feel, right? Well, I originally made that video because Plug and Ballard Power had just gotten decimated, and I hadn't seen that in any stock for so long. Okay, bulls have become so complacent, and then when that happened, and this was about 2 months ago, to me that's always the first sign when the crazy stocks start to lose it. The ones that the really speculative ones, and then today at some point the Dow was up 100 points, and I told the chat room that it felt more like it was down 200 just from watching stuff trade. Okay, my best advice in this market is to sit in cash, which is what I do, and then only trade the setups that that absolutely get your blood flowing, the ones that you've seen over and over work. In the meantime, if you ever feel like you're guessing when you're getting ready to take a trade, if you say to yourself, yeah, maybe this could work, stop yourself, let that trigger a new response. Hey, why don't I just stay in cash until something feels better? Okay. Having said that, First Solar today, I didn't have a trade in this one, but I just want to share this with you. Had earnings. Look at the volume on the opening 5-minute candle. Goes up over 69 almost right off the bat. Then look what happens. All the way down below 62 at one point. That's a $7 swing. This is what I'm talking about when I say things are just getting killed out there, even though the averages are holding up fairly well. I mean, this isn't like a high name, a high common name or whatever, a highly traded security, but still, right? This thing's getting beaten up, and I guess they had earnings after hour because it closed at 5:35. Hold on, I don't have after hours on here. And you can see in after hours it's down here, actually went down to 275. So there's just a couple quick examples. I mean, you see it everywhere. QT, WW, let's go back to the daily. Look what this thing did yesterday. It got cut in half. So you're seeing a lot of this stuff out there. So cash is king in my opinion, and then just strike when you can with proper setups. All right, anyway, FNSR, let me try to type that correctly this time. FNSR, yesterday I put in the watch list video. It was down this many days in a row, and then you had a long day into the 200-day. And then when the market was selling off this morning, let me get the after hours off of there now. When the market was selling off this morning, this was my pick for a reversal. I actually called it right around on this second, after this green candle, I called it long around 22.68 with a 22.40 stop, and that was the low of the day. I mean, that was right at the low of the day. It went from 22.68 to 23.24. Again, nothing really to brag about, but it made sense. If you were going to look for something to bounce, it made sense to have FNSR after that many days down in a row and then gaps down below the 200-day. And we were never underwater after taking it, so that was kind of nice. MTW, a little trick we used here was just simply what we call a Tokyo trade. I don't even feel like explaining why it's called a Tokyo trade, but on this volume spike, went ahead and called it long at 27.87, and my stop goes below that same candle that got the volume spike, 5-minute candle. So 27.87, 27.70. Now this is a little bit of a different kind of trade. It's not based on the chart, although we did have MTW on watch because of the daily chart, because it was down 3 days in a row, kind of had a doji candle, had some support from back here, and the 100-day, which you can't see on this chart. So we already had it on watch. And then on this volume spike, the assumption on this type of trade, what we call a Tokyo trade in the chat room, is, hey, there must be news. All right, and I made sure it wasn't a block trade by switching to 1-minute candles first. And you could see that, here it is. You could see that there was, for the course of 3 or 4 minutes, there was volume piling in, which makes it more apt that, more probable that it's a news story. Block trades mean nothing to me. So you've got to have some price movement and make sure it's not a block trade. All right, having said all that, when that happens and it's not hitting new highs, it's another important element of a Tokyo trade. I prefer them to be coming off the low of the day. I have no problem going long on this volume spike once I've determined it meets those parameters. Called it for the room. Actually put it on the projector so everyone could see what I was looking at. Called it long, 27.87. Worst case stop, 27.70. So what it means is you're assuming there's news because of the volume pouring in. I don't even care what the news is, right? You're assuming there's news and you're going to ride along for the good news, all right? if you're wrong, obviously if it takes out all this volume to the downside, you don't want to be in it anymore. So it's a real quick, easy trade. It's an easy math problem too, because you know where you take it, you know where your stop is, therefore you know how many shares to buy, expecting to stop out. And this thing really climbed the rest of the day and went to, at its highest, 28.27. So a 40-cent move in our favor, but again, kind of an easy trade. And those are, when you're bored, these can come out of nowhere and all of a sudden you can get a trade. Let me show you SanDisk. Now this is one that we missed, but in that same light of that MTW trade, SanDisk, I didn't see this volume spike, but it meets the Tokyo parameters. I have scanners running all day. I might have been out of the room at the time, but look at the volume. There's no question that 5-minute candle, biggest volume of the day. So again, might be news, right? You go long right when you see it. So it just means here, where's your stop? Right there. Now, I don't want to seem like, hey, I called this. I didn't. I showed this to everybody after the fact that 200 of us all together missed this volume spike. It's exactly what we look for, and somehow 200 of us missed it, and you can see what happened afterward. Another nice, easy Tokyo trade. That one completely missed, though. I don't want to give the impression that I caught that, but it's a great lesson, a great way to play those, all right? KING, man, this thing was just getting beaten up. Now look at the daily. It's a new issue, right? And then the lows back on, let's see what the date was. April 15th, I believe, if I have that right. The lows on April 15th were, the low was 1584 down here. Okay, so then look at today's candle. I mean, that is a huge red candle. And it met what we look for, that shape change. I looked at the daily and said, hey, this is taking out those all-time lows. Time to watch for a bounce. Not just because it took out the all-time lows, but because it had come so far to do it. People shorting down there are just wrong. Okay, so I just called it long on a 5-minute buy setup. 1588 with a stop. What was the stop? 14 cents below the low of the day. And from 1588, this thing climbed up to 1630. Again, that's not a huge trade, but everything about it made sense, and it was a nice, easy afternoon addition to our bankroll. All right. One other thing I want to show, another one that I missed, was AOL. AOL, when it was coming down here, I told people, hey, if it gets near this blue line, and I'll show you why I drew that. I'll pan out here. I just put a line at the kind of double bottom there from September and October. Again, AOL had come so far that I liked it down at that area. Now, it never quite touched the blue line. Again, support and resistance are areas, not exact numbers. But look how close, I'll zoom in a little bit. Look how close that got right there. And I did not catch AOL either, I want to be clear, but that could have been played on that 5-minute buy setup or even on a 2-minute buy setup down there. And that was the low of the day. And it doesn't seem like much because it was such a big sell-off that the day's range was so big. But this, even if you bought the 5-minute buy setup, sorry, my mouse is set really fast, it would have been 32.69, and you can see it went up over 35. So a huge trade there for anyone that got it. Again, I missed that push down. You had to be, if you're looking for a trade near that blue line, you literally had to be on it right there on that push down, and I wasn't. I was elsewhere. But again, this is one of those that, talk about a lot of big sell-offs lately. There's another one. That's a huge candle there. So, stay nimble in this market, guys. Stay in cash. If you're a day trader, I know a lot of you are swing traders, but if you're a day trader, stay in cash until you see something that absolutely makes sense. Even the ones that absolutely make sense don't have to work. So your position size is always is paramount on any trade. Okay, always do the math before you take a trade. I'm gonna quit babbling. We'll see you guys tomorrow.